Salutations and welcome to another ranking video. It's Wednesday, so running backs are coming at you. I have the top 35 options to give you everything that you need to know to make the best decisions possible to go get those dubs and crush your opponents, hopefully. Now, if you guys have any questions about any of my rankings, drop them down below. Let me know what you think about them. I'm always open to constructive criticism or normal criticism because that happens plenty on the internet. If you guys have not done it yet, please consider smashing that like button for me. It helps me out a bunch. And if you wouldn't mind subscribing to the channel as well, I would greatly appreciate it. Big shout out to all my current subscribers. Thank you guys so much for the support. Would not and could not do it without you. Now let's get into running backs. The top three were pretty tough this week, almost interchangeable, but I do have Saquon Barkley at number 1 against Baltimore. He's put up 100 total yards in all but one game so far this season. Once again, he's going to do the same against the Ravens, and he had 6 targets last week, which was the most that he garnered since way back in week number 1. At 2, it is Austin Ekeler. He has been massive over the last 2 weeks. He has back-to-back top 2 finishes, and in that time, he's rushed for 223 yards, caught 75 yards worth of receiving, and scored 5 times. I do think the Broncos are going to slow him down, but not enough. At 3, I have Nick Chubb. He gets a brutal matchup with the Patriots this week, but we know that Chubb is immune to those. He's going to make it 4 straight games with 100 yards plus on the ground. Dalvin Cook is in at 4 against the Dolphins. They allowed the Jets to run all over them last week, and Cook just had his breakout game of the season, rushing for 94 yards and a pair of scores. So if you add all that up, another big day is incoming. At the top of tier 2 is Christian McCaffrey against the Rams. It honestly is a miracle what CMC is doing so far this year. I am fearful of what this offense is going to look like with PJ Walker. You say that it can't get worse. I beg to differ. McCaffrey is still going to find a way. He has 21 targets over his last 2 games. He only saw 14 in his first 3, so that usage in the passing game, maybe they finally started to figure it out. It definitely boosts his value. To 6, it is Leonard Fournette. He has been able to get it done in a big way through the year while he has struggled on the ground. He's torched the Chiefs and the Falcons in back-to-back weeks with 140 yards receiving. The Steelers secondary can't exactly stop anyone right now, so Fournette is going to take advantage of that. Alvin Kamara is next at number 7. He gets Cincinnati, and the Bengals allow just over 15 points a game to the position. That is 4th best in the league. But after a nearly 200-yard day against Seattle, I like his chances to figure it out, and especially since the Saints have figured it out and realized the best way to utilize him. At the top of tier 3, in that same game, I have Joe Mixon. He has not had the touchdown luck that he had last year. We knew some regression was possible. The opportunities, though, they have still been there. New Orleans has not been as lights out up front as usual, and the workload that Mixon gets is still one of the biggest of the league, so I will buy him here. Aaron Jones is up next against the Jets. He's going to break his 3-week scoreless streak in this game. I think the Packers try to pound New York into submission after that embarrassing loss against the Giants in London. To 10, it is Jeff Wilson Jr. First time in the top 10. He gets Atlanta. The Falcons allow over 21 points a game to rushers. Wilson is coming off his best game of the season, rumbling for $120, so this adds up to me. Rhamondre Stevenson is up next against the Browns. He's going to be the 1A and probably the 1B as well in this offense. He is in for a massive workload. That is bad news for Cleveland because only 2 teams surrender more points per game to the position. Headlining tier 4, it is Miles Sanders in an awesome matchup with the Cowboys. He may not find a ton of room against them, but Philly's offensive line is good enough to at least give him a chance. And so far this year, that is all that he has needed to put up big numbers. He is the current RB11 on the season. Breece Hall is my lucky number 13, and I really hope that you bought him when I told you to a couple weeks ago, because that window is now closed. He put up almost 200 yards of total offense. He scored as well on 20 touches. He is going to carry the Jets this season as best he can, and he might do the same for your fantasy team. At 14 is Melvin Gordon. He gets a matchup with the Chargers, and nobody allows more points per game to the position than they do. Denver is going to want to exploit that in order to set up the play action and hopefully set Russ on the right track. Gordon is a lock in this game for 17 to 20 carries, maybe more, but that is as long as he holds on to the ball, because if he fumbles, all bets are off and Mike Boone's season may just have started. To the top of tier 5, I have James Robinson with some hesitancy. The grip on the RB1 job for him is slowly slipping away. But the last time that these two teams met up, just a couple weeks ago, J-Rob finished as the overall running back 7. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is next against Buffalo. I would say it's inevitable that the touchdowns would end, but he was about a half of an inch from getting in once and about a yard from getting in twice in that game as well. He's seen 12 or more looks in every game this season. I will buy that in this Chiefs high scoring attack. To 17, it is J.K. Dobbins. He gets the Giants. It is a lot easier to punish the Giants on the ground than it is through the air, and that works out just fine for Baltimore because that is exactly what they want to do. So I think Dobbins bounces back in a big way. Headlining tier 6, I have Devin Singletary. I want as many pieces as I can possibly get in this game, cut and dry. Now, we don't know what his workload is going to look like. That's anybody's guess. But as long as he gets the minimum of the 8 touches that he did last week, I will take it and hope for more. Raheem Mostert is my 19th ranked running back. He gets Minnesota. Maybe the Dolphins have finally committed to a back. Mostert has 33 carries in the last 2 games, and he's been able to turn that into 182 rushing yards. So you would think that they would just stick with him at this point. You can run on the Vikings, and I think he does. Rounding out my top 20 is waiver wire darling Ken Walker against Arizona. If you already had him on your roster or you were lucky enough to pick him up, he's going to be a solid RB2 option, even in a less than ideal matchup. And he's almost certain to see at least 15 touches, and he could see a lot more. My running back 21 on the week is David Montgomery. He was bottled up in the ground last week against Minnesota, but he did manage 62 yards through the air, and that nearly doubled the total that he had on the season. So we love to see him getting usage in that way. He's got a good matchup on tap here, and the Bears are going to want to continue to protect Justin Fields. He capitalizes on the opportunity. Najee Harris continues to tumble. He's next at 22, and this bet is based purely on volume at this point. Harris has not cracked the top 39 in 2 weeks. There is a chance, I think, that he bounces back. If he does, it's probably going to be through the air against the Bucs' number 2 rushed defense. At the top of tier 7, it is Kareem Hunt against New England. I called that touchdown that he scored last week. He's going to have a chance to build on it here. The Patriots allow 4.8 yards per carry. That is bottom 10 numbers in the NFL. Eno Benjamin, if James Conner is out, is going to be my last running back 2 on the week. If Conner plays, Conner's probably a top 20 start against Seattle, maybe more. If not, Benjamin is going to have a chance to put up decent production in this game. The Hawks give up nearly 26 points a game to backs. Rounding out the top 25 is Travis Etienne Jr., and he did in fact break out a little bit. I had a sneaking suspicion that he would. He averaged over 7 yards a carry and had over 115 yards on the day. If he starts and he gets consistent looks, he's got a ton of potential moving forward, so potential buy low opportunities still for prospective owners. At 26, I have A.J. Dillon against the Jets. I would say part of what happened last week was game flow, but you never want to see a flex option, and that's what he's been, get 6 total touches. His stock is falling, I would say maybe plummeting at this point, but the Jets do a good job of fixing that for opponents a lot of the time, so we bank on that with this ranking. At 27 and 28, I have Tony Pollard above Zeke Elliott, and that is because Zeke, even though he's got the 41 carries in his last 2 games, he has not been able to do a whole lot with it. We're keeping him in for the volume alone. However, Pollard has showcased big play ability time and time again. 8 carries, 86 yards, a tutty last week. The efficiency continues to carry him, and he has flashed plenty of upside. Cam Akers is up next at 29. It might not look good for this backfield, and I do get that, but the Panthers rank 25th in the NFL. They allow over 24 points a game to the position. So if he or Darrell Henderson cannot get it done here, then you are allowed to panic. The last tier I'm going to cover, tier number 8, at the top of it is Antonio Gibson. Now, if you are an owner and you did not listen to me, and you held on to him, it is probably too late. That is very likely. He had 3 carries last week. Robinson in his first game back had 9. However, you just hope and pray that it was a mirage, and that is where we have Gibby ranked here. To 31, I have Tyler Allgeier against San Francisco. I would rather not start anybody against the 49ers if I can help it, but Allgeier did have 13 carries against the Bucs last week, so we'll buy that volume. To 32, I have Rachaad White against Pittsburgh. He's seen 8 touches in each of the last 2 games, and he's had 9 targets through the air. And if the Bucs continue to set aside a decent role for him, he is going to have value. If he's available on your wire, he needs to be rostered. Mike Boone is my next dude at 33. He turned 10 touches last week against the Colts into 85 yards, so I think they do keep him involved in this game. He is a sneaky good stash if you have a roster spot available. Michael Carter is my RB 34. It was certainly not a pretty outcome for him last week, but he still saw 12 touches, and he was able to vulture those 2 scores, so you have to like that. He is likely going to have to survive on scraps now from here on out, though, because Breece Hall has completely exploded. The last running back on my list is Darrell Henderson Jr. It was really odd that he did not receive a single carry last week. However, he did see 5 targets in the passing game, and maybe they're shifting his role to help out Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee because Allen Robinson don't exist. That might make sense. We buy him because of that great matchup with Carolina. And that is everything for the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed the content. I hope you learned something. Toss any questions that you have down below. I get back in a very quick amount of time, and I always answer every question and comment that I receive. Make sure you smash that like button for me and subscribe to the channel. Both of those things will make sure that you do not miss on any of the great content that's coming out Monday to Saturday, dropping at 12 p.m. Pacific. This is Relentless Press. I'm your host, Abraham Opatz, and I'll see you next time.